Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome everyone to Live It Out Inc. Live. And we're back every Thursday at 8 p.m. Click like, click share, subscribe to our YouTube page. I need you to tag a friend. Go to Live It Out Inc. If you have, tonight is a very special night. We're talking to one of our military brothers. So if you know somebody in the military that's serving in the military now, that's been in the military, or anybody that you know that you want to help, or you think this information would be good for you, please tune in, tag somebody, like, share. We want to see all those blue hearts come up. And thank you guys so much for supporting Live It Out Inc. And before we get started tonight, first of all, tonight's segment is PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and suicide. So that is what we will be discussing tonight, because September again is Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month. And we want to get this information out, and we want to help save a life, and we want to know the warning signs, the symptoms, and most importantly, the resources, where to get help. How can we get help in our community when it comes to mental health, mental illness, and suicide awareness? So before we get started, guys, we have a very short commercial or announcement. I'm sorry, it's not a commercial, it's an announcement. We have an announcement that we want to share with you guys, and we will be right back.
What's up, Live It Out Inc.? Thank you so much for watching the broadcast. If Miss Janice is doing an excellent job, put some hand clap emojis into the chat. Let me see those hand clap emojis in the chat so you can encourage her to keep on going. So thank y'all so much for tuning in. So just a few announcements. First announcement, we're having a flash sale for our promo tees because we're getting ready to get some new merchandise. So I have this promo tee in red and also in pink. Everything must go. The only sizes we have left are large and extra large. So you can purchase this pink promo tee or our red promo tees for just $15. Please DM us or message us, or you can even email us if you're interested in buying a t-shirt. Our Black Business Highlight of the Week goes to Be Brio. Shop Be Brio on Instagram and Facebook for all of your fashion leggings and socks. Be bold, be you, be Brio. We are excited about game night. Yes, Friday, September 25th at 8 p.m. via Zoom. All you have to do is email us at liveitoutinc@gmail.com to receive the link for game night. Yes, get your glass of wine, get you a shot, and we're just looking forward to connecting with our Live It Out Inc. community. We look forward to seeing you on Zoom.
All right, and we're back. Hope you guys are here to all our announcement. We have some awesome things going on at Live It Out. But back to tonight's segment, PTSD and suicide. Now, post-traumatic stress disorder often occurs when something traumatic happens in a person's life, and it interferes with the person's ability to function. Some of the disorders were, some of the trauma was sexual abuse, rape, war, military. Most military people experience post-traumatic stress syndromes. Anyone that's like firefighters, police officers, anybody that has to see death, even if losing the death of a loved one, can trigger post-traumatic stress syndrome. So we're going to dig a little deeper into this, and we're going to invite our special guest tonight. His name is Mr. Kris Boyd. And Kris, if you come on from backstage and unmute yourself. Hi, Kris.
Hello, how you doing today?
I'm good. Kris is, I call him my brother. So Kris, let's just tell them a little background about yourself before we get into it. Just let them know a little about your military background.
All right, so I'm Kris Boyd. I'm from Austin, Texas, born and raised. Joined the military right out of high school, 1996. I've completed 23 years, retired 23 years as a Master Chief Petty Officer in the United States Navy. I've had seven different duty stations. My first duty station was the USS Hopper. It's a DDG, which is a guided destroyer, missile destroyer, out of Hawaii. My next duty station was in Naples, Italy. I was there for 2 years, which at the same time was where I met my lovely wife. Well, I kind of met her before that, but I met her again because of God, which made me know that that was the right one.
Okay.
After that, I was stationed in Virginia Beach, what is now Norfolk. And then from there, I went overseas for a year to Bahrain. And then after Bahrain, I was stationed at Naval Special Warfare Development Group for 5 years, 4 years at the White House. And my last 3 years was at Carrier Strike Group 11 out of Washington State.
Wow, that is very impressive, Kris. I didn't know you were doing it like that. That is awesome. So let's get into this post-traumatic stress disorder. I've been reading on it. I mean, I know a little bit about from what I've read, but can you kind of share with me what is post-traumatic stress disorder? Like what is that like?
Well, so I mean, you already gave the definition of what it is. It's anytime you go through some traumatic that's very stressful, like even a car accident. Um, Maybe you get jumped by like 4 or 5 people. In the military world, it's more if you've been to combat. That's where a lot of people look at it: combat or MST, which we call military sexual trauma. So it really depends. I know in my own what I've dealt with is a lot more of it was the combat side of the house. Uh,
Oh,
Go ahead.
go ahead, Kris. What happened?
So mine was more the combat side of the house. Being in Afghanistan and being in another country uh, while I was there. In that country, I went through a lot. You know, a lot of people really didn't know. Um, I think for me, because I knew what was going on, I knew what the awareness was, I knew what everybody was looking for, and being the only African American person there, you know, I did not want to. I'm not. I didn't look at it as a racist thing. I didn't want. I didn't want to come home early, you know, and I didn't want to say I gave up. I wanted to show that I can do my job, which in hindsight, 2020 wasn't probably the best idea.
Oh, okay. So in the military, and we had a conversation, and like I said, if we can't go there, that's fine. But with the PTSP, with it post traumatic, okay, the PTSD, is there like warning signs that people can look for? Is it like symptoms that you have? Like how can a person tell that a person is experiencing PTSD?
Um, you withdraw from everybody. That was one of the things I did. I found reasons to push my friends and family away. You know, I'm I talked to my therapist about it and trying to figure out why, but you withdraw yourself from people. Some people won't allow you to withdraw, so you find another reason to push them away. And sometimes you might say something that's hateful, something that you normally wouldn't say, and that's a warning sign. Another warning sign could be alcohol, could be drugs, any type of addiction. For me, alcohol was one of them. Uh, another thing to look at is your irritability. So how irritable can you get? You know, I was more irritable upon everything. If you asked me to do something, I was mad. I didn't want to do it. You know, it was like, why? How are you telling me what to do? You know, so you get more angry, and a lot of times you put your focus into something else, vice into everything. So like for me, I had more of my focus into work than I did into my own family and my own friends. That's where I was pushing everything to because I felt like work, I had a purpose.
Oh,
Outside of work, I didn't feel like I had a purpose. I felt like everything I've been through, I feel like I kind of lost my manhood. And I kind of felt like, why was I doing what I was doing? And at the same time, I felt like I left a lot of my friends and my buddies high and dry.
okay. So, like when you was experiencing it, when you was like experiencing PTSD, how did it affect your wife and your kids or your family? Like, how did they have to deal with it? Because, like you mentioned, like it's difficult. You were irritable. You were drinking. You was pushing everybody away. So, what effect did it have on your family, your close friends that were around that saw you going through this, but probably didn't really know what you were going through?
So as far as we'll start with friends. I had a lot of friends I wouldn't call back. Um, I actually have a close friend of mine of our family, and we're close to their family. And I said some hateful things that ruined our relationship for a long time. And I think a lot of it was I was going through something, but I didn't know what I was going through. So it took many years to mend that fence, if you know what I'm talking about. Um, as far as like family goes, you know, I was less of a father to my kids. I was always mad, angry if they did something wrong. I was angry about it. So during that time frame, it was like it wasn't a respect thing; it was more of a fear thing, if that
Oh,
makes sense.
yeah.
Uh, as far as my wife goes, I wasn't a good husband. I was mean. I was toxic. Um, I was better yet, I was verbally abusive, and and I would say things to her to push her away, because I wanted to be alone. I wanted to be away from everybody. And I think what that would have did, that isolation would have put me in a point where then at that point there was nothing else left to do except for take my own life.
Okay. And so, what was your motivation to stand and fight for your life? Like, what motivated you to like, okay, I don't want to do this. I know I can get better. I know I do have a purpose.
Well, I have a couple friends who committed suicide. I have one good friend. We call him Debo. He committed suicide 2004 on my birthday.
Wow.
So knowing his story, um, and then knowing the legacy he leaves behind, and then the hardest part was I was there when that happened. I was a part of that whole situation. So when you have that, um, you know, you kind of think about, honestly, if I were to commit suicide, what's going to happen to my kids?
Okay.
A lot of people don't realize it is selfish. I got a good friend. Um, I told him this twice, and he was like, "Man, you're being selfish. Like, didn't miss a beat. Was very straightforward, direct, and like, stop being selfish. Not let me cuddle you and all that. Nah, he just like flat out." And so it made me think of that because if I kill myself, what legacy do I live? I mean, leave. I leave a legacy that one day my kids might take their own life, because I'm not saying it's hereditary, but what I'm saying is if your kids look at you as a superhero, then you take your own life. What do you have? What do you show them? What do you give them to look forward to in life? So that was like really one of the big ones. And then God, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't want to go before our Father, before Jesus Christ, and be like, yeah, I know I took my life, but can you spare me, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not guaranteed that I shoot myself or I do something, I make it to the hospital, I'm still alive enough to ask for forgiveness. It's not guaranteed that's going to happen. Um, so I know those two were the biggest things, and then after that, what really helped me, I want to say the most was have been bottling everything up. So Keisha seen me going through this since 2000. I couldn't even tell you. Probably 2011. A lot of it was 2004 with my best friend. Um, but when we went to DC for 4 years, she had nothing but it of it. Then when I went to Washington State, I was by myself. Everybody knows my family was here in Atlanta, Georgia, while I was up there. And I remember coming home from deployment. Keisha met me on the pier and came to my room and was like, "We're not staying here tonight. We're getting a hotel room." So I was like, "Okay," because I had a barracks room. So we went and got a hotel room. The next day, she literally went through my room and she redecorated it. And she told me, she like, "This is sad. This is a room full of sadness. This is a room full of depression." And that's what I was going through. Um, so hindsight, fast forward another year, and I had Keisha and the kids. Actually, this was 20, no, 6 months later. I take that back. She came back up with the kids this time, 2018. And we went, when they came up, right before we left to come back to the States, not the States, but come back to Georgia area. Um, I had an appointment with my therapist. I already told my therapist I wanted to bring my wife in. He's like, "I think that's a great idea."
Okay.
I told Keisha everything that ever happened to me, and it was kind of hard. It really was because that was the most vulnerable I've ever been,
Yeah.
ever. You know, outside of talking to my therapist, which to me is easy because it's just somebody you don't know. But that was the most vulnerable I ever been. Like I said, I got a lot of great friends who I serve with that don't know my full story, and a lot of it is a pride thing.
Yeah.
And, um, but when I broke down and I told Keisha, she cried. I shared a lot too, like I'm shedding now. But that was the beginning of something beautiful.
Yeah. The beginning
That was
of
the
beginning. So, with the therapies, how important is it for people that suffer from PTSD to seek like professional help? Even if they got the love, a lot of people say I talk to my friends or I pray about it. But when you're really dealing with it and when it's that deep or that in depth, how vital is it to seek professional help like a therapist? Um,
So what I'll say is this. What helped me was when I knew I was leaving Special Forces, I had a lot of friends that already left, and they told me a lot of the things they were going through. A lot of it was separation anxiety. So I went ahead and started seeking a therapist for that. That's when I really started noticing how angry I was. But we didn't get to the PTSD part until 3 years later. Um, I had what I would tell people is listen to your friends, listen to people you really care about their opinion. So my mentor told me more than once. He's like, "Hey, I'm going through this program. I think it'd be great. I think you should go do it." So I was like, "Okay," but I just nodded it off. Then I had another friend who I would say is another mentor, but a brother of mine that lives in the DC area. He told me more than once. And then I was like, you know what? Let me go do this. And So I walked in because I already had my wife telling me there was something wrong. We just didn't know what it was. She was telling me, you got to stop drinking or I'm going to leave you. And I don't know how many times she's packed the car up with the
Yeah.
kids ready to go. See, a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
So I walked in, talked to the therapist. And what I tell people like this, you can walk in any therapist's door anytime you want to. But if you ain't willing to be vulnerable and let them know what's going on, you'll never get the help you need. And
Exactly.
even though I was seeing a therapist then, it took 2 years for me to open up.
Oh,
Two
wow.
years, maybe four different therapists. And one of it is because I told you I put my life into my work. And I was going on deployment. And as one of the senior listed leaders on the ship, well, at my command, I needed to go on this deployment. If I didn't go on this deployment, who was going to come take my job? Because the job I had was undermanned. So I said, I got to get it together. I said, I'm being on the way on the ship, so there ain't no drinking alcohol anyway. So I got to get it together. When I came back from deployment, is I told myself, if I can make it through deployment, and I prayed and I asked God, I said, I will come back and I will let it all out. And there was one time on deployment where I almost lost rank because of alcohol related incident.
Mm-hmm.
And that was right then and there, but when I came back and I let my doc know the truth, he was like, oh my gosh, that's a lot. That's a lot to really put out. And I was like, well, sir, if I told you this before deployment, would you let me go? He was like, no. He was like, and he just stopped, looked at me. I looked at him, and I guess we had that agree to disagree or agree to agree. I don't know. But
Okay.
ever since then, we've had been pretty good.
Okay. So you kind of, well, you say you went through four different therapies. And one reason you was working a lot. But did you have the? But did you like? Is it something that clicks when you're talking to certain therapists that make you be like, okay, I'm a little bit more relaxed with this therapist than I was with the other one, or do you just automatically just put it all out on the table for everybody?
Um, so honestly, in the beginning, um, my first therapist, it was like he was trying to tell me what to do, and I was like, I ain't got time for that. I don't need somebody to tell me what to do because if I do what you tell me and I don't like it, then I'm gonna hate every therapist and I'm gonna hate the situation. And then I didn't want nobody telling me what to do because, or I'd rather me try to figure out on my own. You know, I need you to help me figure it out, but listen to me, help me find out what I'm going through. So I had one therapist. She was great, but she ended up transferring to another command.
Oh,
That's being in the military, that happens. Um, and then because I was moving around a lot, I had to move therapists. Um, I had some good therapists. I had some horrible therapists. And what I tell people is that it's your life, but at the end of the day, if you're not honest with yourself, and that means honest with your therapist, you will never, I won't say never, but it'll be harder for you to get better. Because
okay.
in order for you to get through that storm, you have to face that storm.
Yes, you got to face it. You got to be ready. You got to be willing to fight for it. Okay, so in the with the PTSD, like you having PTSD, how could we like if I knew somebody with it, how could I be more supportive to that person? Like I heard you say listen to me, but how could I be more supportive to that person that's pushing me away? Or just don't that's angry or alcohol or drugs or whatever. What would my part be? Because sounds like you had the exceptional in Keisha. And I know that was God driven. So with just like the average person, if I was dating somebody with PTSD or knew somebody, how could I be supportive to that person?
Well, I think for me, one of the big thing is that, I have a lot of being in that arena I was in. I have a lot of friends that were already getting counseling. So, a lot of them just came straight out forward and told me I needed it. And
Okay.
then a lot of them told me about, other friends of ours who were going off the deep end. And that, hey, we've all seen some, we've all did something. It's all right. We need to go get counseling. So that helped. And then I want to say the other thing was the suicidal tendencies. The suicidal tendencies for me were heavy a lot of times. I will never say mine were worse than any other, were worse or better or anybody else, because you can't sit there and compare it to anybody else. But I had a suicidal tendency so bad that one of my officers paid for me to fly home round trip the next day to come from Washington State to see my family, and
Wow.
that was all because of that.
Yeah. So,
Um, so it's definitely different, But what I would say is listen to your friend, your family member. You know them. You know who they were before they were going, or before their incident happened to them, or for whatever happened to them. You knew they went through a major change. Um, if you know somebody that has PTSD that's doing a lot better, maybe refer them together. Sometimes don't just try to set them up in a phone call, but one of the best things you could do is say, hey, I'm going out to eat with some friends. You want to go with me? Or set up like a play date, some form of fashion. So now they're around each other. Let your other friend know why, the one that has it, that's doing a lot better, so they can look out a little bit more. You
okay.
know that helps. And then also just sometimes you got to be straightforward. And if you're somebody who's seeing a therapist, psychiatrist, it doesn't matter if you're seeing them for relationship purpose, whatever you're seeing them for, just let them know that, hey, I sought help and this help has helped me. You know, you said it earlier, a lot of people, oh, I talk to my friends or I talk to God. I get all that. You do talk to God, and that's great. But God also wants you to talk to somebody else, because God also wants you to be able to interact with somebody else, somebody that's professionally for this. Your friends, if they ain't been through it, and even if they've been through it, none of them are licensed. None of them have the training that they can get from another person. Because a lot of times you tell your friend something, and what does your friend do? Man, you should do this. You should
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
How can somebody else tell you what to do and they really haven't walked your shoes?
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, so I mean, you have a very powerful. It's a testimony, but and we really thank you for sharing your story. But I also wanted to ask you, what do you think is a stigma when it comes to PTSD? Again, because when we talk about mental illness, it's always shunned in the community. Now, as a black man, we expect you to be Superman or Iron Man. Do you think it's even if a black man hasn't experienced war combat like you have, maybe they experienced some other traumatic event that happened to them, do you think is a stigma on PTSD in our community? And if so, how do you think we can bring awareness to that just by just interacting with people on a day-to-day basis?
So I would say yes, it is a stigma. The reason why I believe that is because as a black male, we are looked at as a king. As a black male, we're not supposed to have a lot of faults, you know. And as a black male, if I show any form of weakness, especially amongst my other black males, then I'm seen as weak. I mean, so to be seen as weak means that nobody's going to respect you. And if you're not respected, you're no longer at the top. You're now at the bottom of the food chain. It's like wolves, right?
Yeah.
Wolves live in a den. They're a pack. And as an alpha, all black males feel like they're alphas. And the moment that they lose that alpha awareness or that alpha mentality, they are seen at that time as the runt of the litter. And they
Yeah.
don't know when they can be picked off. But what we don't understand is that in order to be strong, you have to know your weaknesses. Strength
Exactly.
is one thing, but if you don't know your weakness, you ain't gonna make it.
Wow. And you really just said, you really just summed it up right there with the wolf pack. So again, that's how do we get that information out? And it's not overnight. I know it's not overnight, but how do we let black men know that it's okay to get help? It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to know your weaknesses and then address them without feeling like, you the runt of the pack or you're gonna be seen as weak. How I mean, as just how if it's a brother or a husband or uncle, anybody, a son, especially our younger generation that's coming up. How do we teach these kids or these millennials that, hey, you need to take care of your mental health? Traumatic things can happen in life and you can develop PTSD or anxiety or depression or any mental illness disorder. And you need to know how to deal with it if this happens to you. You need to know that there's resources out there.
So first off, we gotta get rid of the Willie Lynch theory, right? When you think of the Willie Lynch theory, it's always a reason for another black person to put another black person down. So we gotta stop that, no matter what. Next, you know, as friends, we gotta be able to say, hey man, I'm your brother. At the end of the day, I got you. That's what they say when they in games. That's what they say when they best friends. Then live up to that. Live up to that. Because having a best friend and having a brother that's really there for you when you're going through PTSD, that's what you need. You need that more than anything because you're going to make mistakes. You are going to fail. But to have somebody in your corner to help pick you up, that makes them stronger and it makes you stronger to allow them to help them pick you up. Now, as women, our wives, our girlfriends, you got to understand that if your man is going through something, then you got to be his queen. And that doesn't give you the opportunity to put him down. Because the moment you put him down, he feels weaker. And if you put him down in front of other people, now he's defeated. The
Wow.
one thing a person can give away is their authority. Once their authority is gone, it takes forever to give it back. So what I'm telling women, men, don't give your authority away. And the best way not to do that is to take care of each other. And as women, when you're with your man, don't help him give it away. Because if you do that, then he will forever resent you. Y'all might be together for many years, but he will forever resent you because because of you in that one instant, he lost his authority. And now he feels weaker than what he ever is. If you want your man to be a king, treat him like a king. And that means if there's ever a problem, what happens in the light shall be revealed. So that means if it happened in the light, talk about it in the dark. If it's something negative, if it's something positive, talk about it in the light in front of everybody. That's one thing I feel like we don't do as men and women is we don't pump each other up all the time in the light, but we always quick to put each other down in the darkness.
Wow. That is a
I mean, not in the
words
darkness, put each other down in the light. I'm sorry.
in the light. Yes. Those are words to live by. Those were some very powerful words, especially, dealing with somebody on a day-to-day basis, but especially dealing with somebody that's experiencing some mental health issues. So you just taught us something right there, Mr. Chris, about dealing with the black man. I really appreciate it. Okay, so now what do you think is the connection with PTSD, and suicide? What's the connection there?
So PTSD is something traumatic, depending on what it is you went through. Um, if it's sexual assault or sexual trauma, you might blame yourself. Um, you might not feel like you're worthy. So you might feel like you're less than a human being, less than the worst thing ever, maybe a slug or something. So you don't want to be here no more because you're like, how could you ever love your own self? If you can't love yourself, who would ever love you? If you're talking about conflict, right? With the conflict, you might find yourself asking yourself, was the conflict I'm in, was it really worthy? I mean, we hear time and time we're at war. Oh, America's at war for oil. America's at war for money. America's at war for this. And then you have men and women over there fighting. They come home and they're still hearing it. And then to have their own friends, family who may not be military, now asking you, hey, what do you think about this theory? What do you think about that theory? You are making that individual contemplate on what they did. Was it righteous or not? And and what most people understand is in the military, you don't have no rights. There are no rights. You are property of the government. So if you decide not to go to war, you decide not to fight, you can be punished for it. So the best thing to do is when a person comes back, just say, hey man, I'm glad you're home. Welcome back. Let's go have some fun. If you know that they have an alcohol issue, like maybe the alcohol tolerance is a little bit worse now, then don't go do alcohol stuff. Go play paintball. Well, you may not want to because you might lose, but go find something else to do that is not a super adrenaline rush, and that doesn't always constitute having alcohol. And if you do have alcohol, like let's say you go to a restaurant and you do have alcohol, talk about, hey man, you know what? I gotta drive. I'm only gonna have 2 drinks plus, I got some other things to do. Just put it out there. Don't try to tell them what they need to do, but just trying to help put it in their head 1 to 2 drinks, and then yeah, I guess that's really it.
Okay. So again, I thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you for all the information. But what I do want you to tell them is like you say you was getting your services through the VA. And we was talking about PTSD, and it was something else you was trying to tell me about. The
So I suffer from TBI, traumatic brain injury.
Okay.
It's a mild case, but I suffer from that. So right now, because I'm with the VA, I am retired. But as long as you're a veteran, it doesn't matter. The VA, I see the VA for my therapy and my psychiatrist. I see them. I also have the Wounded Warrior Foundation, Wounded Warrior Project. They have set me up with a therapist who I talk to. I have 12 appointments with her, so that works out. And then suicide hotline, you guys are putting it up there. If you call them, they will automatically give you. It's either 6 to 12 free sessions that you get automatically. So that helps me out. Oh yeah, and then like I can tell you right now, in my phone, one of the other things that helped me through all of this is I have a lot of apps. I have an app called Mindfulness. There's a couple mindfulness apps. I have an ACT coach, ACT coach that I use. And then there's another one called Pink Cloud. I think it's Pink Cloud. That might be, yeah. There's another one called Calm, PTSD coach. I have one that's called Safety Plan. I really like Safety Plan because in Safety Plan, you have to go make a safety plan. And in that safety plan, you put off who your friends, what helps you, what helps bring you down when you get in that rush. You know, uh, you put off in there like warning signs. What are your warning signs? Some coping strategies, your reasons to live. You know, again, I say your contacts. I also put places for distraction. Like if I know I'm feeling a problem, then I'm trying to get to the church. I'm trying to hit the gym. Because as long as I can go at the gym, I can throw weights around and I'm feeling a lot better. Um, Friends. So now I've been reaching out more to my friends, trying to be more giving, you know,
Okay.
and trying to receive what they've been trying to give to me, and not being, not putting the wall up.
And these are all apps that you have on your phone.
Yes, yes. And
Okay.
then I also have a breathing app. It's called Breathe. So I love it because when I feel overwhelmed, or what is it called? When I'm having an episode, I need to breathe. If I can't, and a lot of times I can't breathe, I'm panicking. I have a panic attack. So with that, it helps me breathe. And a lot of times, it's hard getting to my phone. A lot of times, I want to fight it, but when I allow myself to be vulnerable, I'm good.
You good. Okay. That's some good information to know. Too. I'm gonna get the names of some of those apps from you, and I'm gonna just post it on the page for people to get off whenever when they go back to the page and look at it. But Kris, you have been awesome. Thank you so much for serving the country. And oh my God, I did not know, I did not know that you was experiencing so much. When I met you, we was on youth ministry, so I'm like, let's get to it. And I really just did, but I knew I was drawn to you because of your spirit. And now I see the warrior spirit in you. You are a true king, and Keisha and the kids are blessed to have you, and you blessed to have them. And kudos to Keisha for standing in your corner and not walking out all the time she packed that car. Thank you, Keisha, for staying. And Jess, we want to get this information out. You have given us a lot of resources to share with other veterans, for people to share with their family members that they know and their friends. Thank you for telling your story. Thank you for being as vulnerable as you can with us here on Live It Out. So just hold your L up, Kris. Thank you for coming to Live It Out. We love you. We appreciate you, your services, and everything. There you go. Live it out. And you continue to live your best life. Live, love, laugh. You got a lot of living to do, Kris. You done served this country, and it's time for this country to serve you.
Thank
Yes. So
you.
thank you guys for tuning in to Live It Out. Yes, Keisha, don't you go nowhere. Thank you, Kris. Again, I love you, brother. Mwah. And I will see you guys soon. Yeah, see you
They just
guys
got to see
next.
me.
Anytime.
What happened next? Oh, next Thursday at 8, guys. I was talking to Kris. Keisha, you jumped in now.
Yes, I
All
did.
right.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, so we'll see you guys next Thursday. If you're able to tune in, Kris, if you can, I know you'll be working and you have stuff going on, but if you guys are able to tune in, join us again next Thursday. Um, we have another segment on suicide awareness and prevention. We want you guys to come back and join us. We want to get the information out. We want to save some lives. We want to educate, and we want to be resources to people. Thank you guys so much. And don't forget our game night, which is coming up. Email us at Live It Out Inc. if you would like to be a part of the game night. We're going to have some fun with you guys. Um, and everybody out there, that's just continue. Life is short. Continue to live your life, live your best life, treat people right, do the right thing, live by the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and live your best life. See you guys later from Live It Out. And